Hello, I'm Vicki Wright, and today I'm reading to you from the book of John, chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the house of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table. There's a lot of information in those first sentences. We have that Jesus was coming to Bethany right before Passover. We know that his death is imminent, and he's visiting with 3 friends, Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. 3 friends that we've heard about before in the Bible. Remember, it's Lazarus who was raised from the dead. It's Martha and Mary that he met, and Martha was working in the kitchen and wanted him to have her sister Mary come and help her. And he said, no, she is doing what is most important. She is listening to me. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. The house filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, the one who was about to betray him, and I always think this sentence is kind of armchair quarterbacking because the people knew what Jesus was about to do who were writing this. He said, why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor? He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept the common purse and used to steal what was put into it. Jesus said, leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me. When the great crowd of the Jews learned that he was there, they came not only because of Jesus, but also to see Lazarus, whom he'd raised from the dead. So the chief priests planned to put Lazarus to death as well, since it was on account of him that many of the Jews were deserting and were believing in Jesus. When I read this story, there's just so much in it. But I think about Mary who listened to Jesus at his feet. Mary who, when her brother had died and was in his tomb, didn't come out. It was her sister Martha that met Jesus on the road. Now here is Mary with a pound of costly perfume, pure nard. Now you may be saying, what in the world is nard? Nard is a honeysuckle, but the oil comes from the roots. But what made it so costly is it only grows at 3,000 to 5,000 feet, so it probably had to come all the way from the Himalayas. And it was the kind of oil that would stay on your skin and in your hair for days and days. Have you ever been sprayed by a skunk? Well, that's kind of the way nard was. It was with you. Have you ever had a scent memory that stayed with you? It says in the Bible, the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. I remember the Christmas of 1973, and you're thinking, oh my, she thinks it's Christmas and this is Easter. But no, this story does get around to Easter. I was with my parents. My father was to die within the year, but we didn't know that then. And we spent a wonderful day at Williamsburg. And if you've ever been to Williamsburg, it's beautiful at Christmas time with all the decorations with flowers and fruit and candles. And it started snowing, one of those big flaky snows. It's so beautiful. And snow was on the ground, but we were cold. And we went to this place where they sell ginger snaps. And it smelled like ginger, and we ate the warm cookies. And I can remember, have you got moments in your past that are just frozen in time that you could live over because you remember everything about it, what you had on, the scents. I remember standing there and eating those cookies, and they were so good. And I promise you, if you want to eat a good ginger snap, I've spent years perfecting the recipe, trying to replicate that scent and that taste and the way my kitchen smells. And I remember those happy moments with my mom and my dad, the 3 of us there together. We didn't know that anyone was dying of cancer. We didn't know there were any problems in the world except the 3 of us had had a wonderful Christmas together in Virginia. So I have wonderful scent memories. You probably have scent memories. There are things that you smell that remind you of things. And I wonder about the smell of nard. If every time Mary smelled it after Jesus' crucifixion, if she thought of him. I wonder about the fact that she spent 300 denarii to buy this. We don't know much about Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, except they had a home large enough for everyone to gather in. They don't appear to have any parents. And in Jewish culture, you were married by the time you were 20. So they may have been very young orphans, or there may have been a reason why they weren't marriageable. But she had enough money to spend almost a whole year's salary on nard. Now, another thing she did, which we may have just glossed over as we read it, she wiped them with her hair. She wiped Jesus' feet with her hair. A proper Jewish woman never uncovered her hair except to her husband. It was kept covered in public. So here she was in a big group, and she uncovers her hair and wipes his feet. Feet were another thing. Interestingly enough, feet were viewed as dirty, almost obscene. And to wash someone's feet, that was the lowest thing a servant would do, is to wash someone's feet. And I kind of think, what extravagant love, what enthusiasm. Mary in this instance reminds me of Peter. Remember how he jumps out of the boat and is always so enthusiastic to jump to things? Here's Mary in the same kind of enthusiasm and great love for her Lord, that she spends 300 denarii on perfume for his feet, risk ridicule by taking her hair down and wiping his feet with her hair. I wonder when I read this, it says here that the crowd already wanted to kill Lazarus. They wanted to kill Jesus. Jesus knew the chief priests were after him. And he says, let her anoint me. And if when he hung on the cross, if the scent of nard still clung to some part of his body, I hope so. Because if it did, it gave him a memory that though the crowd yelled, crucify him, there was someone, many someones, who loved him extravagantly and enthusiastically. And in the future, there would be more who would love him with the same enthusiasm and the same passionate love that Mary did. So I'm hoping as you go into this Easter and you think about Jesus, that you remember Jesus' extravagant love, and we are called to love him extravagantly.